Well, to our conversation of the day back in studio, and that is embracing menopause. This morning we have a panel that will help us understand this further. Helping us do so, at least from the sense of it, is Dr. Simon Kigondo, who is an obstetrician and gynecologist. We're also joined by Anno Mamo, who is a lecturer at the School of Business, that is at the JKUAT. And of course, joining us virtually, Doris Moremi, founder, CEO, Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation, and Dr. Tabitha Ndongo, Assistant Professor of Psychology at the USIU. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making time this morning. Now, before we delve into that conversation, let's take a look at what exactly menopause is. At least it can give us an idea of what it is that we're talking about. To start you off, is that menopause, it's a natural biological process that marks the end of a menstrual cycle for a lady. Now, when you still think about it, it is actually diagnosed after you've gone 12 months without a menstrual period. Now, we'll get more details about that in a moment. And the causes vary from person to person, but generally heavily induced by lower levels of estrogen and progesterone in the body. Now, some of the symptoms that are actually associated to menopause are irregular periods, vaginal dryness, hot flashes, chills, and that list goes on and on to include night sweats. We have sleep problems, mood changes, and this, remember, are different from one person to another, and the severity of the same is also different. We'll hear that. And weight gain and slowed metabolism, thinning hair and dry skin, and of course, loss of breastfulness are some of the other symptoms associated with menopause. So, Dr. I think it is important that we understand some things here. We've just defined it as the time that marks the end of your menstrual cycle. So what determines or causes this end of the cycles?
So, thank you very much for having me. I think just to start us off, these are very important conversations that you have brought up, not talked about a lot, probably because our population was much younger. It's only that as a republic, we are now getting into a population size where we are now experiencing this as an issue, you see? So every country sort of sorts out its issues as they grow. Now, when you get at the time of conception, the number of eggs in a female are fixed. There are several millions. By the time you get a baby girl who is born, then the number of eggs have actually reduced. By the time you reach a puberty, that is when now you get what is called ovulation, where an egg is ovulated, removed, so that the ability to get pregnant occurs. The decline of the number of eggs in the ovaries continues until about mid-40s. And once the eggs are literally finished, that is actually the now biological definition of menopause. So of note is that unless you are unwell, you only get periods 14 days after you ovulate. So every time you get your period, just know that 14 days earlier, you had an ovulation. The egg came out. And now when there are no eggs, then there is no ovulation. Then you get menopause.
So there is a point where we all get to, and there are no eggs in those sacs, so to speak.
Yes.
All right.
That's now the biological marker of menopause. Menopause now, for the external sign of that internal change, is that periods disappear.
All right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So menopause is said to occur in your 40s or in your 50s, at least biologically or scientifically. Why this age group? Because
that's when the eggs get finished.
Okay.
As in sort of there is a quota of eggs with each there's a fixed number of eggs at the time of conception. At the time of delivery, they're getting less. At the time of puberty, they're even less, but that's the time when you're having ovulation. So every time there is a group that mature, you get some of them getting finished, so to speak. By that age, on average, that's where the most number of people around that mid-40s age is when there are no eggs.
At all.
Yes.
Okay, now we know there are those who are going to eat a bit earlier and others a bit later on. You'll explain that in a moment.
Yeah.
Let me hear from the ladies, starting off with Anne. So when did we start experiencing menopause?
Thank you, Gladys, for having me. Mine came at early 40s, 42. Yeah, it was not easy to accept. For me, I accepted it,
Yeah.
but the people around me were like, no, you're still too young for this. And or the symptoms, of course, the hot flashes. It started with night sweats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe this room is hot. Okay. And so we changed the sheets and the like, but my spouse is like, no, the room is not hot. Why are you saying the room is hot? Okay. And so it hit me that probably something is happening to me. And so he asked me, you go see your gyna and get checked up, because I don't believe you are actually going through menopause. So for me, I was like, yeah, maybe menopause is here. But he was still like, no. It's not yet here. So go get checked. And so when I got checked, then that's when I was told, oh, your estrogen levels are actually low. And that's why.
Okay.
Yes.
So were you shocked that you had gotten into menopause at 42?
For me, not really. I kind of accepted it. Yeah, it's the people around me who are like, no, you can't be. You can still get babies. We want babies. We want more babies. Yeah, but it was easier for me. I'm a more open person, so I embraced it more positively.
Did you ever think it would come this early?
No. I was still expecting, because for my mom it didn't come early. So I was expecting after 50. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you talked about the symptoms you had. Apart from the hot flashes, what was so elaborate about now that time?
Of course, the periods also disappeared. They were erratic and very irregular. Yeah. And so, and I mentioned that's the moment he also wanted a baby. And I'm like, okay, are you sure we can get a baby at 40? And so, okay, so you go see the gyna first, then we know if we can get this baby or not. So it's from the doctor that I got to know that the levels had come down. Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
And also breakouts on the face. I'm one person who used Vaseline on my face for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, these breakouts. And so we struggled over it. And we got to know there were some issues with my hormones. Yes.
Oh, so they were hormonally induced.
Triggered.
Okay, now let's hear if this is similar to the ladies we have actually on the panel with us. Doris, was this the same case for you?
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, well, I didn't start that early. I started going into menopause at about 48. That's when as the doctor was explaining, the period started becoming irregular. And then at 49, I was in full menopause. And just like the other lady has said, I was also having, night sweats. I was having hot flashes and chills as well, irritability. When they talk about mood swings, I think the word irritability comes to mind. And also weight gain. Yeah, weight gain, yeah. So that's what happened for me.
All right.
For me, it was very welcome.
Okay, wait. Did you say that you're actually looking forward to it?
It was the best news I'd ever had.
Okay, why?
Well, I have lived and suffered from endometriosis, adenomyosis, and fibroids. So I've had a long history from the time I was about 15 years old. So that's actually the reason why I started the Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation. And so, every time I had my menses, all these conditions, are terrible during the menstrual period. So I kept looking forward to having for the menses to get finished. I actually had induced menopause through GnRH drugs, which put me in temporary menopause. And I tell you, that was like the most horrible experience, because it was not a natural process. There were forced hot flashes and all that. But later on, When I now went into natural menopause, my goodness, it was such a surprise. It was not as harsh as the induced one, and just having no periods, all my symptoms, all my pain, everything melted away.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm sure this is a surprise to many that there could be a woman who actually looks forward to their menopause, but we'll understand more even for those that have other menstrual disorders. Let's hear also from Tabitha. Tabitha, when did menopause come knocking?
Very interesting. Thank you for having me. As they have explained, I'll tell you that I think when we are so busy doing all the things we are doing, it comes to me. I was shocked because I was sitting in a manager's office and I was profusely sweating, and I was like, the manager almost took me to the hospital, and then all of a sudden I started thinking, wow, this is the menopause we talk about. So mine came. And it didn't bother me. I just moved on with my life. I didn't have any serious problems. And I think what happens is that you lose the libido. You don't want anybody to touch you. You know, you just feel like you just want to be yourself, alone. And sometimes people can mistake like you have now having outside affairs or something like that, because you are not interested.
Yeah.
It just goes down and you are like, your body changes and you are like, oh my goodness, what is happening in my body? The nice skin has already disappeared. The hair is thinning. It's not the thick hair you used to do. And you start feeling, well, this is something not interesting. But then you realize, oh, when you have been managed that, this is a topic we don't tell our children.
Yeah.
It's like when you get one stage, you get a baby, a girl, you're very careful about the puberty, when she's getting the periods, then you will fight with her during the teenager. Then when she gets married and she go away, you never talk about what happens after that. Menopause is a topic which people do not talk about. They are silent, they suffer silently. And it's nice that we are starting talking about it, because it's a natural process and it has to come. The nice active lady with all the estrogen and progesterone, you know, those hormones, you're so active and energetic, and everybody's looking at you and you're looking nice. All of a sudden you start going down. Now you're in the third quarter of your life, and your breast goes down. And there's a lot of emotions which comes with it.
Yeah.
So talk about it.
All right. I am so glad that we are being very candid about this process, because it is inevitable for all the women, as Daktari said. And even as we talk about those different symptoms, Daktari, one thing that stands out across board, the night sweats or the sweats, the hot flashes, is something that is actually normal for everyone. But there are others that are different for each. What shows or what informs the discrepancy?
So, as we all know, and that's the beauty of life, is that everyone is different. And trying to push people to be the same is what is sort of a source of all our problems. So just take each person as being different, similar to each individual. Now, 80% of the people, the highest symptom in menopause are the hot flashes. Of course, over and above the irregular and disappearing periods, the hot flashes are the most common symptom across the board. So it's classified as 80% of it. So you'll find that this is actually what is talked about the most as menopause, you see. So, and across the board, you have had the three ladies just describing menopause literally as the hot flashes.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of interventions towards menopause are directed at hot flashes, you see. And therefore, now for the other symptoms, they do come. And I'm very thankful for the panel you have brought, because this is the scientific process. You ask people who have actually gone through it, as opposed to, of course, us will read the book and tell you, oh, some people will get hot flashes. But when you have one or two people actually telling you, yes, of course, we see them at our clinics. Yeah. So hot flashes is the highest.
And even as we talk about hot flashes, so what is it about our bodies that now induces the hot flashes? What's happening?
Excellent. So back to the scientific, where we lose the public now.
Yeah.
So when eggs are finished and there is a process where you have ovulation. When the egg is released, then what is left in the ovary is something called, it's like an organ, it's called a corpus luteum. The ovary is the one that produces estrogen. Okay. So when you have those eggs and they're finished, then the levels of estrogen go down. Estrogen is a hormone. A hormone is a messenger. A messenger is something that is released in blood to go to the different places of the body to tell the body what to do. For instance, so when you have estrogen in the brain, as one of the ladies said, then people are bubbly, excited. Then when the hormone levels go down, then you get that low mood. You get? When you have estrogen in the uterus and its high levels, then you get periods because there is some effect on the inner lining of the uterus, and then when it's not there, you get periods. On the breasts, you get those changes, you know, you feel pain, or, you know, those cyclical changes. So after menopause, when there is no estrogen, so menopause is a manifestation of low estrogen in the body. Okay. Actually, all those things come as a result of that, and it has an effect. These hot flashes are the effect of estrogen on blood vessels, for instance. Yeah. So that's the common line. It's a very simple explanation, so to speak.
All right. Now, you had Doris is one of the many of you that are very ecstatic about having gone into menopause. But I hear this a lot with those that have actually been living with menstrual disorders. Explain.
So we'll take the case of Doris. There is a condition called endometriosis. Endometriosis simply means that normally the inner lining of the uterus is called endometrium, meaning the inner lining. Endo means in Latin and Greek, in, metrium, uterus, in uterus, you see. Okay. That lining now, in endometriosis, when that lining is found elsewhere other than there in the uterus, then it causes problems. For instance, let me give you an example. If it's not only found on the inner lining of the uterus, it's just found outside, inside the body there, let's say in the uterus, then during periods, the same hormones stimulate it like to get periods, but they're not released, you see. So it causes like a swelling inside there that is painful. So every cycle, the hormones, you get periods which are not being released and they're causing pain. So when you don't have periods or menopause reaches, then those effects are not there. And therefore your pain stop, you see. And now, because your problem was the pain caused by endometriosis, so your problem has been solved. So that's why some people with specifically endometriosis do welcome menopause, and we as doctors do induce menopause in some people who wamewezwa sana na endometriosis. That's the explanation.
So that's what she was mentioning. She had an induced one, and that wasn't as good as this one.
It's not good because we give drugs, and nature has a way of making things come slowly and not too bad. But us, we have a way of just killing your pain, but we can take you to the other side.
All right. So now, even as we talk about the symptoms, because even some of the questions coming through are about these symptoms and the effects of the same. So, Anne, apart from the hot flashes, what else were you dealing with?
For me, I didn't really have mood swings as such. But it was majorly the hot flashes and the periods now that were erratic. Sometimes you are unprepared for it and it just comes, or it takes 60, 70 days sometimes before it actually comes. Plus now the breakouts on my face, that became an issue for me. Yeah, because I was used to this nice skin, smooth, without having to use any special facial kind of products But now I had to invest in that. Yeah, and they come expensive. They are not cheap products for you to manage it. Yeah, but I got help also with that, and got good products that helped me go through it. For now, it has eased off, and I think I've already stabilized around that those facial issues. Yes.
Okay, so Tabitha mentioned that even her libido went down. She didn't want to be touched. For you, bedroom matters, how did that change?
Yes, it changed a bit, but I am thankful for my spouse. He was understanding. Yeah, so sometimes I would just say, I am hot, please do not touch. And he would be like, okay, fine. Okay. Other times I'd be like, I would feel like I should not be sleeping on that bed. If you sleep too, it's warmer in the bed. So I would even change sheets. So he's covering himself with the duvet, but I'm in a sheet. And he's not understanding how come now we have to separate these covers.
Yes.
We are used to being together. But he was very understanding. Yeah. And so we went through that. And then I had to exercise. You mentioned one of the symptoms was decline in your rate of metabolism. So I had to change my exercise regime also to boost metabolism. So a lot of weight training combined with cardio, but I focused more on the weights also. That really boosted the libido also. Yeah, and the diet. You also have to change what you eat. So I got a nurse who advised me, oh, you can take now soya, and that boosts. And that makes you a little bit more lubricated and like being dry. Yes.
Vaginal dryness was also one of the listed symptoms. And I'm wondering, for you, Doris, apart from the hot flashes, as you mentioned, and you being very happy you're menopausal, did you deal with other issues that you're not ready for?
Yes. Other issues that I dealt with were chills. I mean, really chills, feeling cold, and that. And as I mentioned, irritability, and also forgetfulness. I don't know if the other ladies suffered from kind of like forgetfulness, but I have chronic forgetfulness. In fact, today I constantly take rosemary in my tea just to enhance his memory. Maybe the doctor will comment on that.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, but weight gain, I had lost a lot of weight especially because of the endometriosis. But I suddenly, overnight, I just kind of put on a lot of weight. So I'm really working hard at trying to, to lose the weight, and also metabolism. Yeah, because you feel you have a sluggish metabolism. Yeah, and irritability. I think just being on edge sometimes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Overall, and the sweat as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Just continue.
Interesting. Tabitha, forgetfulness, loss of memory, temporary loss of memory. Is this something that you resonate with?
I didn't go through that, but you see, what the doctor has said is the reduced estrogen and progesterone. Remember that this is not working specifically on only one organ. It is not just working on just the uterus. It's also working in the brain and all that. And reduced the estrogen and progesterones, they will interfere with and that's why you're having the mood swings, as they are saying about it. Because now it has reduced, it has changed. And you start wondering, what is happening with my body? And the problem we have is your partner might not understand. And that's where the conflict starts. And I would just like to add what the doctor is saying. There's also something we talk about, urinary incontinence. Because you see the reproductive area has now lost elasticity because of the estrogen and progesterone. And you can actually feel like the urine is coming out uncontrollably sometimes. And also, the other thing I would like also to mention to add what doctor is saying is the vaginal dryness. And you see, when you start having it dry, you don't want somebody to hurt you. So it brings its own effects because of the reduced estrogens. However, as Doctor has said, there are things to treat that. But as he has said, we are all individuals. Some people go through it. They don't need hormone replacement therapy. They don't need anything. Diet, exercise. And if you've been active in life, you find yourself, you are moving on. You might be irritable once in a while and you wake up and move on. The only problem is your partner does not understand why these mood swings. So they need also to be educated. And that's what we talk about premarital counseling. If you're getting married, if you're preparing to get married, you need to be told these things because they're going to happen. And when they happen, your partner might accuse you of neglecting him and they start moving out. So, but if they have that understanding that, oh my goodness, you have lived the good age or the 20, 30, now you're in 40, all of a sudden, 45 comes and you're a different person. You start slowing down and somebody start wondering, what is this? At night, what she's talking about, you have to throw the blankets. And he's saying, why are you throwing the blanket? I'm feeling cold. And you are sweating. You are actually, you even need a fan to do it. And you're like, you don't understand. So I think this is a conversation you need people to be told before they go into it, because it can bring a lot of drama in the family.
And definitely that is one of the reasons why we are having it, because from what I gathered, Dr. is that a lot of us do not or are not adequately prepared for menopause. They talk about adolescence and then talk about pregnancy and then it ends there. The rest of it we go as we discover along the process. But even as we go into that feedback session, because I'd like to hear from others who've gone through this. And remember, our question of the day is, have you experienced menopause? What are some of the challenges you've had to deal with? Remember that hashtag is the new normal. Dr. Let's talk about some of the other symptoms that have been brought up. When it comes to vaginal dryness, is it also as a result of the estrogen?
Yes, as I said, the explanation of menopause is low estrogen. That's the explanation. Estrogen, there are two hormones for ladies that make ladies different from men are estrogen and progesterone. You see, those are, and as I said, just to make it simple for your viewers, because they are not medics, so to speak, hormones are messengers. They have a specific task. So they circulate in blood and go to the different organs on your body and give instructions, you see? Like now, for instance, for estrogen, during reproductive life, it will go to the inner lining of the uterus and instruct it to become big. Why? The bigger it is, the more likely it is to receive a conceptus. You know, because it forms eventually like part of the placenta, is the one that fits. Progesterone, on the other hand, its role is to ensure that fluids, lubrication are created. You know, you have glands within those endometrium whose purpose, they have various purposes, but I can give you one for easy to understand. Like it instructs it to provide fluid that will provide food for instance, spermatozoa to survive through, to be able to go and look, that's the role of progesterone. So if you remove that, then you can see its impact on probably fertility and things like that. But back to your point now. The impact and was it Tabitha? Who's about urine, you see?
Yes, incontinence.
The incontinence, yes. So estrogen ensures that the urinary system is strong, so to speak. And therefore, when you reduce estrogen, then you start getting a thin urethral mucosa, so to speak, the lining. The lining. And therefore, you start getting those urinary problems. You may start getting, you know, more urinary tract infections, because you may start getting a bit of weakness, and because the estrogen has reduced the vaginal mucosa, which is next to the urinary one, then it starts getting weaker. You get what I mean? And therefore, those signs and symptoms of urine are, as a result of that, low estrogen.
Okay.
So it is true. So the estrogen has an effect on, and maybe I don't know whether we'll come to it later, including bones. You know, when you have low estrogen, then women who are older tend to have weaker bones, so to speak. So you'll see all your grandmothers will have a fracture of the hip. I don't know whether you you have some grandmothers, because with time they get bone loss as a result of low estrogen for some time, and their bones become weak. So across, you'll find that we are doing more hip replacements, or you'll have fractures. And so you see it has the whole skin. Estrogen has a role in the skin, that smooth glow skin of people prior to puberty, because it has an effect on collagen. And therefore, when it goes low again, then now you have to start supplementing, as she well put it, with those products that you have to buy. And it's big business, because they know that estrogen will definitely go down, and people will have to buy these products. So it's as a result of that.
Okay. All right. So let's take some of the feedback, even as you give us your experience with menopause. Remember, again, that hashtag is the new normal. If you can have that on the screen. So Margaret Odundo says, you sweat a lot, backache and pain in the body. I think that has been alluded to, and Dr. talks about bone problems. Hafsa says, terrible hot flashes, loss of appetite and weight gain. And Dr. I'd like you to underscore the reason for the weight gain. Linda Onimbo says, very interesting conversation. I'm 50 and actually looking forward to menopause. Really tired of periods and cramps. There is a whole tribe that is actually looking forward to this silently. All right, if we can have more. Eunice Gashwiga, who says, so much heat. Yani joto jingi na uchungu kila pahali. Interesting. Okay. Betty Ruto says, dizziness for me. Okay, interesting. Now, Daktari, there's a question here that has been sent to me directly, and somebody's trying to understand. Diana says, how is it that when you are in puberty, you deal with skin issues, you break out, and yet the menopausal woman is also dealing with breakouts, yet here there is a surge, this is a lower ring of the estrogen levels. Explain this.
So the effects are different. So estrogen, when estrogen itself has an effect on skin, it increases its metabolism, make it called nice, strong, and smooth. So for some people, then you have it becomes more oily, you see. You get those
pimples.
Those pimples, you know, that's an effect of estrogen and progesterone combined. You remember that estrogen makes things grow, progesterone produces fluids, you see, like in a gland. So you have that combination. So after menopause, now the effects are as a result of lack of support of the estrogen on the skin structure. So the problems are a bit different. Those ones of dryness, you get what I mean? So collagen breakdown, you see. But the ones of puberty are the ones of now drive, where, I mean, you have more lubrication, let's say. But the more lubrication is also on the skin, which leads to those
so it's
pimples.
an excess.
You get what I mean? So it's on this side as opposed to here. So both of them are as a result of the hormones, but one is as a result of low hormone, and the other one is as a result of the hormone working well, and especially in people who are more sensitive than others. You have people who have a more sensitive skin, which is similar to boys, for instance. Testosterone would cause now their face to start having those, it's sort of the same. So they're overreactive glands, so to speak, and that is the explanation.
All right. How about the weight gain? How do you explain this?
So weight gain, yes. Weight gain is a common phenomenon after menopause, and you'll hear all those stories of, menopause ilifika, wakakuwa tu hivo, wakakuwa, you get what I mean? And estrogen is a metabolic, you know, it causes metabolism, so to speak, causes breakdown of things. Now, when you have low estrogen, then you sort of accumulate, you know, these things. And one of the ways of combating, which all our presenters are presented, is exercise, as you put it. And very important to see the nutritionist, because diet is a big factor in weight gain. A lot of weight gain, people accuse many things for like menopause, but people, you know, for instance, the lady who talked of depression, not depression, like low mood. So what do you do when you're on low mood? You eat. You get what I mean?
Okay.
So if you have low mood, you eat. I mean, what you get? So some of the factors as a result of, so you have low mood, you eat more, you know, people get, actually depression is actually associated with menopause.
Yeah.
So those are the other factors, but also the low metabolism as a result of low estrogen, and therefore, you know, it's just there that exercise is a really useful avenue for sorting out that particular one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Anne had touched on some of the things she's done. You took up exercises, supplements, and all this.
Yes.
These supplements, what exactly are they helping with?
When I started doing the supplements, my lubrication improved a lot. Yes, and even the hot flashes went down to the point that for now I don't really get them. Maybe in the night a bit, but during the day I don't have to keep on fanning like I used to do. Yeah, so that has really calmed down when I combined it with soya and calcium. Yeah, that helped a lot, and also with omega-3 supplements. Yeah, those also help a lot, because again, the food we eat, you will not get the right amount of nutrients or that you want to get out of them. So supplements go a long way to help you sort out this. So when I talk about going through menopause to my friends, they're like, are you sure? You look okay. Yeah, but I know I'm going through it. Yeah, especially when the night comes, I dread nights. But the supplements have really helped me a lot, I must say. And the exercise. The ones that are more enhance your metabolism. So it's not about just doing a run or a walk, but a combination of the cardio and the weights. I must insist to the ladies, the weights help a lot. Yeah, when I increased weight exercises, they helped a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the reason why you're insistent on this, and perhaps, Dr. you can back this up with the science, is because with the estrogen levels dipping, your muscles are also degenerating. So if you're exercising, you're helping yourself amp the muscles. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, there are many factors. So you're getting blood. What is a hot flash? A hot flash is like your vessels with blood, they sort of dilate. You get what I mean? So if you're getting the blood moving around as a result of the exercise, that can decrease. Then yes, you're increasing your muscle bulk, and therefore that increases metabolism, which is good. But following up on her point, and I think at the end of the day, the output for the show would be what to do in menopause. And just to fast forward, the first one would be come with your partner to the gynecologist. That's the bottom, because we are the ones who can explain that, that at the end of the day. But let me just put in some science into that. Soya is what is called, and maybe we are going to the treatments, so to speak, of menopause. Soya has what is called phytoestrogens. So they have plant estrogen. You get? So when you take in plant estrogen, then it's like you're replacing. It's almost like HRT. It's almost like hormone replacement therapy. So soya, it was good advice, because soya sort of has estrogen. You get what I mean? So if you are having low estrogen, then you sort of take. So soya is the food that is associated with estrogen. Some of the supplements, for instance, that we would give would be called phytoestrogens. You know, they are similar to, but now the food aspect that has, she took calcium. Calcium, as we said, when you have low estrogen, bones get weak, calcium goes down. So supplement of calcium is just to forestall sort of the bone loss you get as a result of low estrogen. Then the omega-3, there's the lady who was complaining of memory loss. Omega is known for, you know, brain issues to supplement. You get what I mean? So sort of we are targeting the symptoms and really giving good management of some of the issues here.
Okay. So, Anne, when you're working out, do the bones feel a little bit different than they did when you were younger?
Oh, yes. There's a big difference now, and I keep on getting pains on the knee, but we find a way of working it out to ease it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Tabitha, you say this thing hasn't really, bothered you much. You accepted and have been dealing with it as you go along. So what are some of these things you've taken up to help you along with the symptoms?
Yeah, as I said, and they have said about exercise, from a very young age, I used to I'm a sports person. So I used to do athletics. I continued, I used to play golf. So I was very busy, very, very busy. And what they have said, exercise improves your, we have that natural endorphins. Endorphins is something which improves it reduces the pain and reduces your mood. And when you don't have to have those mood swings. But I like what Dr. said, that you go to see him with your partner. First of all, your partner has to understand what is this disease you are going with. You want us to go and tell the doctor. That is a conversation, which I'm saying, premarital counseling. Let them be told. And as you said very clearly, we start from puberty. We talk about adolescence. We talk about the babies have come. And then there's an area we never talk about.
Yes.
The menopause and the emptiness syndrome. Emptiness is when you are left alone. Those are two areas nobody tells you what happens. You might find yourself all alone, and you are like, so you have 10 children, they have all gone. Here you are struggling with your menopause. You understand what's going on with your body. And you can lose your self-image, your self-identity, and you can start getting that depression. And somebody has to teach you. I'm very lucky that I did pharmacy and I did psychology. So I'm a medical person. I would deal with myself. But the people who don't know how to deal with it, how do you deal with these psychological issues? How do you deal with these mood swings? How do you deal with, and what I've taught most of my students and most of my patients, attitude, positive attitude in all situations. You move on.
Okay.
Positive attitude and education.
All right.
I think that's what has made me go.
All right. Now, let's underscore positive attitude and education, of course, awareness about what it is you're dealing with. Now, we take a quick short break here on Your World. When we return, we hear from Doris and how this, she says, has changed her life, yes, but then again, she's dealing with other complications. How is she dealing with this, and what's the message for those with menstrual disorders? We'll be right back.
Think critically and approach questions, challenges, and setbacks with a positive and proactive attitude. You'll gain a reputation as someone who wants to make an impact and get things done.
Our graduates and our future leaders make some of the most sought-after professionals in their respective industries. We admit both self- and government-sponsored students for our master's, degree, diploma, and certificate programs that are accredited by the Commission for University Education. The moment you have been waiting for is here. Zetech University. Invent your future.
Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, we offer free delivery within the same day? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can open an account and lipa pole pole at your convenience? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can get customized sizes according to your roof plan to avoid wastage? Call us now on 0111 050 700. Ruiru Mabati Factory, mali safi kwa bei poa.
We want to recognize the Kenyan companies that have done really well amidst the challenges that we face locally and even internationally. Every one of us was born with the inherent capability to lead and to manage. We say Rome was not built in one day. So some of the small little organizations, the SMEs, they have the opportunity to grow to become national players, regional players, and eventually international players. For us, we believe that what is even more important is a continuous follow-through that is usually done after the event.
Is that Jamie will somehow be helping the DEA capture a major drug lord? You know, Manin? Yeah, and I thought she was dumb.
I came here to talk about my new studio and to promote my new song, not to talk about this nonsense. Emma, come here.
I don't have anything planned yet, but let's get married.
Won't you? Are you serious?
We get a bigger chance of nabbing that crook if we officially state that Jamie Montoya was murdered by Manin.
Wow, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy. Juicy fruit.
Lucozade. Energy to get through it.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. This morning we're having quite an interesting conversation on embracing menopause, and I have quite an interesting panel that is very candid about their journey. We have Anno Mamo, lecturer, School of Business at the JKUAT. We also have Doris Moremi, founder, CEO, and of Sisters East Africa Foundation, and of course Dr. Tabitha Ndongo, who is an assistant professor of psychology at the USIU, and helping us with the science of it is of course Dr. Simon Kigondu, who is an obstetrician gynecologist. And a lot of your questions coming through, and of course your experiences with menopause. Remember that hashtag is the new normal, even as you tell us what you've been going through. And of course, if you have any questions for Daktari or the other panelists, you can also use the numbers at the bottom of your screen. And Doris, before we went to break, I mentioned that those who have menstrual disorders, again, like you, are looking forward to menopause, and you talked about irritability, you talked about their weight gain and all that. So what have you put in place to manage these symptoms?
Okay. What I've done really, just like the other ladies, the calcium supplements, exercising, I've done the omega, I've been taking omega, but I tell you, for my memory, I had to supplement also with rosemary. Rosemary works well as well. Yeah, so, and then just trying some breathing exercises help. in terms of mood swings, you know, before just jumping into, just breathe, you know, how they say take a deep breath, you know, count to 5 before responding or reacting, especially with young ones. And then and walking, you know, doing some exercises. I love walking, so that's really what I've been concentrating on doing. And I lay a lot because I also suffer from chills a lot, you know, the cold. I think I tend to get more chills and even the hot flashes. Because there's medication that I take for the hot flashes, which helps manage it. But the cold, you know, the chills, that sudden drop in temperature where you feel so cold. So I'm always like layering, wearing clothes, many layers, and then throwing them off. You see things flying, a sweater here. So you learn to layer, and then you feel cold again, you put something, a poncho, things that are easy, So that's kind of what I've been doing,
Okay, now you really are insistent on this forgetfulness. How bad has it gotten to?
Oh, I can be with my phone here, and or holding it in my hand, and I'm looking for it. I don't know.
Okay.
So I'm a bit concerned. Yes.
All right. And since you started supplementing, have you seen an improvement?
Yes. With the supplements, yes, I've been on Omega for quite a bit. But actually, when I added on rosemary, I've actually seen a difference. I'm actually remembering better, you know. And of course, you know, you also have to help yourself. You have to journal. You know, learn how to journal, you know, put little notes to yourself, reminder to yourself so that you're able to remember some of these things.
Okay, so just like somebody else put across in our feedback that they really, really do not miss the cramps and the periods, they're actually looking forward to getting to menopause. What exactly is happening with your body now? I mean, I wonder, you know what endo was and the impact it had on you. How does the body feel like now?
Fantastic. Energy, first of all, because one of the things when you have endometriosis, you have extreme fatigue, no energy and low energy and always in pain, you know? So, now that's all gone. I have a lot of energy. It's only started dipping a bit, but because of menopause, but lots of, even with the dip, it's much better than when it was with the endo. So, and then no pain, a pain-free life. You wake up and then having a very positive and happy attitude towards life. I was always so gloomy. I mean, talk about depression, endometriosis, waking up to it, you know, or adenomyosis every day is depression for you. But every day, you know, when you wake up, you're happy because you feel good, your body feels good, you have energy, you can do lots of stuff. So that's really the difference.
Okay, so Daktari, when it comes to the menstrual disorders, there's even a question about it. Does this mean it will finally heal my fibroids? This is Naomi asking.
Oh, that's a good question. So fibroids grow as a result of estrogen stimulation. So with each cycle in menstrual cycle, and you have estrogen stimulating and they grow. Now, the effect on fibroids of menopause is that they can stop growing if they are growing, or even shrink because now you're having low levels of estrogen, you see? But fibroids on the other side, hand, are managed only if you want to manage them only if they cause symptoms, if they cause a problem. And the two main symptoms are heavy bleeding, very heavy bleeding as a result of the fibroid, and 2, when your stomach looks like you're pregnant but you're not, a big uterus, you see. So menopause, if you had a huge uterus, menopause may mean that it won't grow further, but it may still be there and you may not like it. You get what I mean? But it may, and 2, you may not get the heavy periods that you used to get because now there are no periods.
Okay, so Daktari, in this case, if you become menopausal but you had fibroids, they stop growing, and at this point you remove the fibroids. That means they will not recur.
Yeah, correct. Now that's true. So fibroids recur. For instance, if you had fibroids removed when you are younger, but you're still having a menstrual cycle, because estrogen keeps going up and down. So if there was another fibroid that has started growing now, it becomes, they actually don't recur. You have actually removed the fibroid that was there, but now the next cell has become a fibroid, and you get the so-called recurrence is actually new growth.
Okay.
And some people are more susceptible to fibroids than others.
Okay, now another question here. Daktari, I'm suffering from AUB. What is AUB?
So that's a non-specific kind of like abnormal uterine bleeding.
Okay.
So when you have any form of bleeding that is thought to be abnormal or that is disturbing you, you'd want to see the doctor so that they can come up with a specific diagnosis. You get what I mean?
Speaking of which, she says, and this is Mombi, she says, my diagnosis is surgery to remove my uterus and ovaries. This bleeding commenced in April this year to date. What are the repercussions of removing my ovaries? I'm 45 years old.
That's a good question.
Does that mean we do not know the answer?
And that's, again, what we say. It's very specific between her and her doctor. You get what I mean? What is their specific diagnosis? So, for instance, there are indications for removing a uterus and an ovary. There are indications for removing a uterus only. There are indications. So there are many schools of thought. So for instance, her specific diagnosis, like let's go to the extreme. If someone is diagnosed with early cancer of the inner lining of the uterus called endometrial cancer, so to speak, the management includes removing of the uterus and the ovary. You see, if someone, for instance, has not reached menopause and has fibroids only, which are thought not to be cancer, then you can remove the uterus only and leave the ovaries. You get the point?
Okay.
Because the ovaries have a role in what we are calling calcium metabolism But if now, for instance, someone comes with that bleeding and they are maybe 52, let's say, then they can choose to remove both the uterus and the ovary, because now you're saying, okay, the role is now is more limited. But those are discussions had between you and the
your doctor,
and you have assessed all your issues, so to speak. You get what, because people are different. And people make a problem of trying to use their neighbors' management for themselves.
For themselves, which is true. So perhaps for purposes of our conversations, our conversation today, would this induce menopause, the removal of your ovaries?
That's a very good question. We have said that menopause is estrogen that has gone down as a result of limited production by the ovary.
Yes.
And therefore, physical menopause would be induced physical, meaning that you are seeing physical by removing of the uterus. So when you remove your uterus, there are no periods. So you can say you are menopause. But if the ovaries are still there, and for instance, you are 35 years, then you are not, in quotes, the only menopause you have is the lack of menses. But the hot flashes and all will not occur until you reach the menopause where the eggs are finished in the ovary, you see. So that can go on till 50, you see. So for instance, when you have your uterus removed, you may not have hot flashes if your ovaries are still ovulating.
Okay.
But now when the eggs are finished, then now, so you can have someone's uterus removed today, but they get their menopausal symptoms, the others, at 50.
Okay.
You get to the point.
All
but
right.
when the ovaries are removed, now you're in menopause.
Okay.
That's menopause, and the next day, you are having hot flashes.
Wow. Okay. Mombi, I hope this answers a little bit of your question, but again, a lot of it is something that you will have to discuss with your daktari. Now, I'm told that we have Pamela from Kisii on the line.
Yes, please.
Pamela, what's your question or comment?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for this very timely discussion. I thank the doctor because he has addressed one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Which one?
I wanted to know, once uterus has been removed, does a woman go through menopause?
Okay.
That one has been addressed so far.
All right.
The second concern, I'll request that Daktari addresses men also, so that we get to know the experience about men kindly.
All right, a good one. Thank you, Pamela, for calling in. Yes, Daktari. So, if ladies inevitably become menopausal, what do men become?
Yeah. This is the direction we like taking society to. You see, a lot of let me not be quoted. We sort of tend to address one group. You get,
yes.
and forget that society lives together. You get what I mean?
Yes.
So, even in men, there is the menopause of men, in quotes, is called andropause, whereby andro is Greek for man and, you know, pose. And now for men, whereas menopause is low estrogen, men is low testosterone. You get what I mean? So now when the testosterone levels go down, there are many factors. One of it is aging. And therefore, suppose you have men and women, say they are partners, you know, they are living together. And now, naturally, for instance, there's natural progression of society, both of them are going through menopause. And andropause, you see, sort of they will balance out. You get that? Whereas the needs change for men, the needs also change for women. So andropause is a low testosterone, but that for men is slower than women, as in, you get, for women is more sudden, for men is slower, you see, and it's if you look at nature, it's a natural way of sort of balancing out. You get what I mean? So you do not want a man with testosterone levels at 100 and you get and that is an explanation that so it goes both ways, you see. So you may find some ladies the libido is still high at 50 and the man is, you know, andropause and so it's not a one-way thing. It's not
all right, so Daktari, the question here is, when does andropause kick in?
So again, yeah, it's slower for men and more gradual. So there is no sort of specific date, but with aging, you sort of get a slow progression of lower testosterone levels, you see. But it's not as dramatic.
So
as
age
women,
gap, age bracket? 40? Is it also 40?
It may be 40, 50. From 40 now onwards, you see, you get what I mean.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And I'm glad that this has been touched on so that the men know that they're not in the clear. This one. All right. Now, let me bring in Tabitha. Tabitha, you are a cancer survivor. Colon cancer, and that was, it was actually caught at stage 2 of it. Had menopause hit before or did it come after?
Oh, the menopause was already there. It's had already gone, and I was back to my normal life. You notice that when people go through menopause, that's the age when the menstruation has gone and all that. Then you become normal, a new normal way of living, without your periods, you know, and you're okay. And as somebody has said, you can have fun at that particular time because you can't get pregnant. You enjoy your intimacy and all that because now that fear of getting pregnant has gone, and you start feeling nice. My cancer came in 2015. I'm 65, so I had already gone through my age. And advantages, which I always tell my patients and my family, always go for checkup because this checkup is what helped me. And it was caught up quite early. And because of these exercises, as I told you, I'm quite an active person. It didn't go very far. And what I noticed is mostly is positive attitude. If you don't have positive attitude, you can actually go through these very difficult things. As Dr. has said, with estrogens and progesterones, which he has explained, when they go down, you feel like you are no longer the person you are. And that can make you feel negative moods and irritability. But when you accept what is going on through your body and as we said, creating awareness, telling people this is what happens, you're able to move to the next level. And we tell people, don't stay at that point, move on.
Thank you for that. And the reason Dr. Ria asked that is because it has been said that cancer therapies, at least some of them, can actually induce menopause, right?
Yes, they do. The cells that are rapidly growing, and therefore cancer drugs, for instance, they reduce that. You get what I mean? What is a cancer? A cancer is a cell that is growing too fast and causing other problems, you see? So how chemotherapy works, the treatment with the drugs, is that they target those, when they enter these cells that are growing too fast, they slow them down and kill them. Of course, they affect your normal cells, but a bit slower. You see, these ones are, so you'll get side effects which are temporary. Then when the cells recover, then you sort of, they will recover, but you will have enabled the stopping this fast growth and ability to eliminate them. So that's now when they target the testes and the ovary, then that can lead to menopause, because you have, in quotes, eliminated those fast growing cells. Yeah.
So it's a temporary thing.
It is temporary, but can be permanent.
Okay.
In terms of, and for some people who maybe would have wanted to preserve their eggs, sometimes you do harvesting of the ovum, you know, just the way we do in vitro fertilization, harvest and store. You get, so that after the treatment, you get, well, then you can now use your eggs to get children.
Okay. All right. And speaking about getting children, there's a question for you in a moment, but I understand that we have Janice from Meru on the line. Janice, what's your question or comment?
Hello.
Hi, Janice.
I'm Janice from Meru. I see what leads someone having a big VJ, yet you've not even given birth.
Say that again?
What are the results of someone having a big VJ if someone has not yet given birth and bearing in mind you're still very young?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Janice. I think you've captured the question, Daktari.
Yes. So those the perception of having large internal organs is that it's a perception, but so you have to move it towards reality. And the way you do it two ways. One, you see the doctor. So the doctor does two things. One, a physical assessment, and two, a psychological assessment. Then you now make a treatment plan, if there's any, based on that. You get. So we have a lot of people who think that their private parts are big. You get what I mean? And then when you do assessment, they're saying, no.
You're okay.
You get. Yes. Then there are those, for instance, if you've had deliveries and they have perceptions of low tone and all, and then you have interventions that help people do that, like Kegel's maneuvers, you know, exercises, and occasionally surgery if someone really requires that. But that is an assessment done by the gynecologist. So they would need and have a true statement of their position. So yes, there could be such issues, and therefore a medical assessment is important. Yeah.
Okay, so Anne, Daktari has touched on the Kegel exercises. Yes. You know, we are told that a lot, especially when they're preparing you for the baby showers and all that. So now in this case, it really matters because of the muscle depreciation.
Yes.
So how is that working for you?
Because I go to the gym, there are actually equipments that help to do that, the Kegel thing. Yeah. So that helps to tighten up your muscles a bit. And as I also said, the lubrication also is improved. So I've not had really an issue on that particular. I ensure at least twice in a week I'm on that machine. Yes.
Okay, now there's something else that was brought up and somebody said, please ask this because I have a concern. Some of us react to some of this artificial lubrication that is suggested when you're going through the vaginal dryness. Did you ever deal with that?
No. I didn't use artificial ones.
Okay.
Yeah. The soya helped.
All right.
Yeah. But K-gel is not bad. Yeah.
Just try it out.
Yes. Just try it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's external, really. But although some people react to some of those things, but for me, the soya sorted me out. I must say. Yeah. Okay. In terms of dryness. Yeah, that sorted out the issue.
All right, Daktari, there is a question here about pregnancy. Is it possible to get pregnant at this stage?
Very good, very important question. So, and maybe we were coming to that where we said that as you move towards the menopause, which is defined as having no periods for 1 year, there is the stage called perimenopause, just before menopause, you see, which can last up to 4 years, you see. And at this level, this stage, the estrogen levels are still significantly adequate, although they move up and come down. You get what I mean? And what did we say is what brings estrogen is ovulation, meaning that you see, once in a while you have ovulation. And the ovulation at this stage, because the eggs are few, may be erratic. You get? You may ovulate once or twice a year, but when you ovulate, you can actually get pregnant. So your family planning options continue, even until now a full definition of menopause is achieved. You get, therefore, you can get, they commonly call it that oops baby. That's what they say, because they thought, you know, we have reached menopause. So you need to discuss with your gynecologist what are your options.
Okay.
That time, yeah.
All right, so, Anne is smiling is because she's in that stage, right?
Yeah. I heard that and I saw some business already.
So I guess, Anne, I hope you know this, that there is a chance that you could get pregnant. Okay, interesting. But even as we talk about this, I'd like to understand even from the other ladies, especially when it comes to insomnia. Tabitha, is this something that you've dealt with?
Yeah, insomnia is very common. It's you know, when you have the mood swings, you are not at peace with yourself. So you go to bed and you keep on turning and turning and turning. And I think the doctor has to really give me something to take when I couldn't sleep, because the hot flashes were so strong that they are affecting, you're just sweating. So you have to look for something. But as I said, if you're active and you get tired, so you can just fall asleep. But you don't have that nice sleep, you know, that doctor can explain. A very nice sleep where you wake up feeling very refreshed. You still have those ups and downs, but it can be managed. But in particular, what the lady has said about the vaginal lubricants, they are helpful, because you see, we said about that dryness. The dryness can make you not get interested with sex, and then your partner might have a struggle with that. And that is why they are available. Yeah. So that they keep you moist, because as you said, the estrogen goes down and your body goes down. And what you was asking about that weight gain is you just slow down. So your metabolism is slowed. So you keep on eating and the body you are adding and you are not active. So that's a saying. Exercise helps you to get out of that mood, so that you don't feel so sad. You feel nice, like when you do exercise. It has an antidepressant effect. Instead of sitting and moaning and worried and what is going on, just go and do exercise. And then the other thing which we should encourage is people to talk to other people. Find out. And tell your children what happens after they have their children. And there's something my mom used to tell me, and I learned, you see this this thing I put on my, it's not more of design. It's something when you have hot flashes and you are sweating, you can just wipe off yourself. And ladies who are in that section, it's good to have a headscarf, a small one, because if you have a tissue, you're going to keep on, the tissue will get so wet.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that small thing you put on your neck. It's a part of your dressing, and it's also a part of your safety. Just in case you start sweating and you're feeling like, now what is people thinking? You just wipe yourself, nicely, and you move on.
Okay.
That is how to go to the next level, because you don't want to keep on sweating in front of everyone. That is how I manage it.
All right. Okay. So the conversation is embracing menopause, and is, as you're hearing from the ladies, they have found a way to live with it and embrace this new cycle. When we come back, let's talk about the psychological impact of menopause. And of course, as Tabitha has touched on, it's important that we have these conversations more often so that people can understand that it is a normal, natural way of life. We'll be right back.
Enjoy the best family entertainment on StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet.
Oh, yes.
Subscribe to Classic Bouquet for only $899 for 30 days or Smart Bouquet for only $999 for 30 days. Come on eBay. Ni StarTimes.
University is going to make my dreams come true.
Registration is ongoing.
Your baby's quite active.
After I discovered Molfix, I rediscovered my baby. She's jumping and running around.
Well, we call that the Molfix Comfort. Thanks to its elastic side bands, Molfix provides freedom of movement for your baby. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Lucozade. Energy to get through it.
Just one capful of Dettol is enough to disinfect surfaces and protect your family and your home. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Akiri, 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 akiri.
Will you wash your hands with me? I want to wash my hands with you. Come on, I will show you what to do. Wash your hands in clean water. Wash your hands, wet them with the water. Wash your hands, now add some soap. Scrub your hands in the soap and water. Scrub above and below between the fingers too. Scrub under your nails and scrub-a-dub-a-doo. Rinse your hands in water. Rinse them clean, rinse away the soap. Dry your hands, dry your hands, dry your hands and go.
Achille, why do we wash our hands?
To wash away the germs.
Achille, what are germs?
They're like tiny little bugs on your hands and they can make you sick.
But I don't see any germs on my hand.
That's because they're so tiny that you can't even see them.
Oh, wow. I want to wash the germs away. Will you wash your hands with me, Achille?
Of course!
Lucozade. Energy to get through it.
It is your world. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today, the conversation embracing menopause, and a lot of feedback and a lot of candid conversations being heard today. And we'll get back to that in a moment. But for now, let's take a look at the other world. And Saudi tourists in traditional dress ride medieval carriages, pose for portraits by street artists, and play chess on benches with locals in Lviv, a city in Ukraine more accustomed to European visitors. But with strict travel restrictions still in place across Europe, travelers from the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia, now rank among the top visitors to the ex-Soviet country. The trend has given hope to the country's pandemic-hit tourism industry. And Asma, a tourist from Saudi Arabia, says, in my country, Saudi Arabia, it is actually 52 degrees hot we have, but here the weather is amazing and the rain is a little and it's really magic and looks like heaven. Christina, a manager at the Rikatsa hotel group, says, nature delights tourists from Arab countries. We must understand that these are people not only from the other side of the world, but also from a completely different climate. It's much cooler here and it rains often, especially in Lviv. For the tourists, it is a great joy. Not only children, but also adults rejoice when they see water falling from the sky. Now, around 7,000 people protested in Athens on Sunday against a new rule obliging health workers to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, the rule change, which came into effect on Wednesday last week, requires that all personnel working in hospitals must be vaccinated. This led to street protests with demonstrators waving Greek flags and brandishing placards declaring, "We are not against vaccines, but against fascism and a long-lived democracy." A nurse who gave her name as Lena said the Greek health system will collapse if they put all the caregivers who refuse to be vaccinated on sick leave. Now, Greece's government announced an array of new restrictions and free testing for those who remain unjabbed against COVID-19 in an effort to boost vaccination rates. The government took the measures in part to encourage people to get vaccinated as the contagious Delta variant of COVID-19 takes hold. On Sunday, Greece registered around 1,500 new COVID cases, with 13,600 people having died so far of the disease in the country.
Αλλά ούτε αυτοί διευκρινίζουν περί τίνος πρόκειται για τους οποίους θα ευθύνεται η κλιματική αλλαγή. Εκεί πάει η δουλειά. Ο Χριστός θα νικήσει.
Well, back in Kenya and in the studio, the conversation embracing menopause. I'm still with Anne, Tabitha, and of course Doris, and Daktari is helping us. That is like Dr. Simon Kigondu. And it's interesting, some of the questions that are coming through, but I'm glad that we are having this conversation. And starting us off, we have a phone call from Mama Deborah, who's calling us from Western. What's your comment or question?
I'm just wondering, and I need the doctor's response.
Mm-hmm.
I am way over 54 and not yet menopausal. What is it?
Are you looking forward to it, Mama? Mm-hmm.
I'm so fed up. I think I'm past. I thought I started looking forward to it at 45.
Allah.
So you can imagine.
Thank you, Mama Deborah. All right, Daktari, I think this goes to the question that I had posed earlier on. Yeah. How come there's a group of women that go into menopause really early on, but some take too long to get there, like Mama Deborah?
So the definition of early and too early is according to who?
Okay, under 40. Under 40. There are those who get to it under 40.
So population studies have that you take a group of women over time and see, so you say like 1,000 women, some got into menopause at 40, others at 45, others at 55. So menopause is a range, and it's a wide range, and that's how unsure you are. And they say that in the West, the average is 51.4 years. So what does average means? Average means there could be some like Mama Deborah at 55, and others at 45. So you take that average, you see. So there is strict, really strict no fast, but I've had women at 55 years, that's the time they get menopause, you see. And in the African context, maybe we need to do more studies. When do African women, in Kenya, let's say, even in a locality, maybe even in Western, when do they go into menopause? So we need to know. So what we'd say is that she is fine, but in terms of now, for what the earlier lady had said in terms of checkups you get. So when you go to the doctor, they can check, they can go and do some checkup and see, is this not getting into menopause normal or is it abnormal? Because there could be other causes of abnormal, what you had said earlier, abnormal uterine bleeding. But for her, she needs to look, is this a monthly thing? Is it you get, your period pains and all? If it's that regular periods, then it is periods. You get what I mean? It is. But if maybe there is an abnormality, maybe she's getting bleeding in between the periods, then you need to check up. But some people, I have people who have gotten menopause at 55 years.
All right.
So the range would put it at maybe 45 to 55. More commonly, 45 to 52. You'd say, but now the range goes to, could be that. But
so how do you explain those under 40?
So if you get menopause below 40 years, we say you have premature menopause.
Okay.
So that is considered abnormal, you see. And the explanation to that would be that your eggs got finished earlier than they were supposed to, you see. Then the eggs, they got, every month there's a cycle of eggs that mature, ovulate, periods. Mature, ovulate, you get. When they finish is menopause, you see. So if they get finished at below 40 and below, then that's not natural. You get what I mean? So you're looking for things. Are there drugs that were taken? Does the environment have things that could lead to environmental issues that lead to early menopause? Have you had surgery to remove your ovary? Yeah. So you'd want to investigate a cause. But what you are saying is sort of below 40 is considered premature menopause, you see?
Okay.
Yeah.
But we are all born with the same number of eggs.
So on average, you are saying the cycle would end at around 45 to 55. Okay. You get what I mean? Yes.
All right. All right, then. Do we have Josephine from Sierra on the line? Josephine?
Yes, I'm Josephine from Sierra. I'm also having a problem which I'm seeing here in the TV. Yes, I'm I'm 65 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are your symptoms, Mama?
I have problem with sweating, losing appetite, headache. But I'm trying to do exercise every day. And I'm having a high blood pressure also.
Oh.
I'm on medication.
Uh-huh.
But still, I'm sweating, I'm forgetting, I'm having sometimes tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So all those are symptoms that actually come with menopause. But it's interesting that you've mentioned you have a hypertension. How old did you say you are again?
I have high blood pressure and still I'm having, sometimes I feel joints.
Okay.
Even during the night, I feel my hands are cannot work, and I wake up and do the exercise and they become normal again.
And have you talked to your gynecologist?
I don't have. That's why I wanted to talk to Dr. if I can visit him in his office one day.
Okay, but I believe there must be a good gynecologist in Siaya. Dr.
I request his number because I'm still at the, right now I'm up country.
Okay.
Yes, now when I'm expecting to go to Nairobi, I can visit him in his office.
All right. Asante Sana Josephine, and thank you for calling. So, Daktari, there's something that she brings up, and I had come across it, that menopause increases your risk of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
Is this the case always?
Yes, so what they say, women before menopause have a lower risk than men in getting cardiovascular diseases because estrogen is protective. That hormone, those messages it goes and protects. And after menopause now, the women, the levels of estrogen are low. They have the same risk as men. Therefore, you'll find that the risk of cardiovascular diseases, which include hypertension and heart diseases, increase because of these low estrogen levels. So that's true.
Okay.
So you are more likely to find hypertensive women after menopause vis-a-vis, you get to the numbers, it's not uniform across the age range. In terms of the lady in Siaya, we have gynecologists all around this country, and you could give her a number. I'll give her the number of the gynecologist in Siaya. So we usually like, in terms of devolution of health, we like people to be seen closest to where they live, you know, and that's why we are agitating to have more health workers everywhere, qualified. You get what I mean? Well-trained and qualified, so that you do not have to come to see Kigondu in Nairobi, yet in the next to you, Siaya, there should be a qualified. So I can always give her, they are excellent gynecologist in Siaya.
All
so
right.
I will send her the
some
number.
context.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, as they say, a gynecologist is a woman's best friend. So you've got to invest in one. It doesn't matter what age you're at. So let's talk about the psychosocial support when it comes to menopause. This is so critical because first, you do not know what's happening to your body, and it's happening rapidly, and there are too many changes at the same time. How did you handle this for you?
Just like Tabitha mentioned, a positive attitude towards the same, and self-care, self-love for women. I know women, we tend to focus so much on children, spouse, and you are taking care of people. That's just being that's just our nature, because we nurture, and we forget ourselves. So I came to a point where I realized I need to take care of myself as an individual and love myself first before I focus on these other people who are in my life. And so I set a day to myself, and this is a day for Anne to take care of herself and focus on herself. And me time also, hygiene, how I dress up, you know, just loving myself and focusing on myself as an individual. I have a clear budget set for Anne, you know, which nobody should touch. And I have a spouse who understands that she must be to the salon, she must do her facial, she must, you know. Yeah, so, and so that is understood. Therefore, I get that support. And even the friends that you have, you must have friends who also encourage you to move on with this. Yes.
And for you, you mentioned that the family were looking at having one extra child.
Yes.
That retirement plan. So did you educate them enough for them to understand what was happening and this perhaps might not be possible?
Yes. When I visited the doctor, I remember that particular day and I had to go through the tests, he kept on calling. What has he said? And I'm like, I'm going to the lab. Okay, so what are the lab results? And I'm like, I can't interpret. Let me go back to the doctor. Until now, I got home and explained to him what was actually happening. And he was like, okay, fine. It's not like we really don't have a baby, so it's okay. Let's enjoy the two that we have. Yeah, so he took it also positively. Thank God. You know, I understand there are men who will now say, let me look for the child outside, you know. Yeah. But I thank God that my doctor is saying I'm still in that window where I can get an oops baby. Yeah.
All right. I hear we have Elizabeth on the line. Elizabeth, what's your question or comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Elizabeth. My question goes to the doctor.
Yes.
Yes, at my age, I think I'm admitted to premenopause or what, but I remember I went to see a doctor and I explained what I was going through. I was having hot flashes, I didn't know what was happening. And the doctor prescribed some supplements which I did take. But then after that, again, I started getting my period. So I got my period in July last, and now we're in August. I'm still not feeling the hot flashes that much, but they come and go. So I would really want to know what period. Is it the premenopause I am in, or has it just started? Because I believe menopause, like you said, it should go like for 1 year without seeing your period.
Thank you, Elizabeth. How old are you?
I'm 45.
45. Okay, I think everyone is nodding to, yes, it's perimenopause. Okay. Daktari, is that the case?
Yes, yes. So as we said the strict definition of menopause is 1 year without periods.
Okay.
The period before that, you start getting those symptoms where you have still a bit of estrogen, but not too much. It keeps coming and going. And therefore, you start getting those symptoms of those ones that she's getting of menopause. And then once she goes 1 year, then we say, okay, that's menopause. Yeah, but she's in the perimenopausal stage. And she can take those
supplements we're talking about.
Our 4 doctors have already prescribed what
from experience. Okay.
They have already prescribed what we need to take.
All right, we have one more caller on the line. Judy, what's your question or comment? Judy, can you hear me? All right, we seem to have lost Judy. But ladies, even as we close this conversation, psychosocial support, Tabitha, you've been very adamant. It's important that we have these conversations amongst ourselves as ladies, but also what should society understand about this natural occurrence?
Yeah, I like what the doctor said. I like what the doctor said about talking about it and doing research on it. My concern is like, what do people in the village do? How do they go through menopause? Because I don't think anybody tells them what they are going through. Because I said, when you are in the village or you have your children, there are stages of adolescence. You are told what to do. You are teenagers, you're told what to do. But when you get with children, after that, you are left like, now what happens? Then as you're struggling with your children and maybe your partner, then something called menopause starts appearing. And you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? So I think that is a conversation which needs to be discussed, to be encouraged in all sectors. Even as we're talking about the girl child, let us not leave them at adolescence. Let us not leave them at that stage. parenting, when they go through parenting, it's another school of thought. Now, after parenting, menopause comes. Where do you start? What do you tell them? And the most important thing, what the ladies have said, they will have anxiety, there will be depression, there will be mood swings. So somebody need to be educated that when I'm crying, all of a sudden when you're talking with you, I'm so happy, and all of a sudden I start crying. Somebody must understand why I'm going through this.
Okay.
And that is when you don't have psychological support. People think that, oh, I have to see a psychologist when my mental state is not okay. You need to talk to a psychologist just to support you as you're going through each stage of your life. And when you embrace that, nobody will say that you are mentally unstable. It is the problems which are you had not expected. Because I always tell people life is a 4-quarter. You have the first quarter where you are a child and your parents are taking care of you. You go to the second quarter, now you are free, you can do anything. That time you have all the energy, you have the very high estrogen.
Yes.
Then you start going to the third quarter. The third quarter is now you are declining. Everything is falling apart. Then you go to the fourth quarter when you are just the elderly and nobody knows what to do with you. And those are stages which need people to be educated about, because we don't talk about them. We don't talk about how we don't talk about how you are left alone, what you do. Those are things which need to be discussed, because they cause a lot of psychological disorders.
Very true, and well said. Okay, Doris, for you, of course, you represent those with menstrual disorders. What is of utmost importance, even as you embrace this new cycle?
I think the psychosocial support, again, I thank you for the opportunity to respond to this question, is that there could be peculiarities, especially maybe you've gone through endometriosis. Like, for example, I realize that because of pelvic floor, having endometriosis in the pelvic floor, you start having issues like urine issues, even stool that's there. So you start realizing that there's some weaknesses that you hadn't realized. It was always there with even the endometriosis, you just were not conscious of it. So being able to start now taking care of yourself better by addressing those particular issues. It could also be side effects to some of the drugs that you've been taking for so long. For example, I realized that I had eye problems because of some of the conditions of the drugs I've been taking. So again, that kind of psychosocial support will help somebody realize you didn't come out of this to get into something, new issues. Yeah.
All right.
And it's something to also be embraced. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you, ladies, for your candidness. And of course, I hear we also have a bit of feedback online. Oh, Judy is back on the line. What's your question or comment?
Hello, Gladys. How are you?
Well, thank you.
You're speaking to Judith, and I'm calling from Kisumu.
Yes.
Yes. Hello?
I can hear you, Judy. Go ahead.
This is Judith calling from Kisumu. Big hello to the ladies at the ferry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Now, I'm calling to find out from the ferry the relationship between menopause and IVF. I'm not menopausal. I'm 41, but just interested in getting to know if it's possible that patients or clients or women who are menopausal still have a chance through IVF to bear babies.
That's a very good question. Thank you, Judy, for calling in.
I'm a teacher by profession, as a teacher.
Yes.
And I'm very much motivated by the ladies in the room. And my second question is, Gladys.
Yes.
That what are the impacts of hormonal imbalances with respect to IVF? Because this is a conventional method to assist women who are not able to get or bear children.
All right. Thank you, Judith. So, Dr. Riven, as we close, you can address Judith's questions.
So, IVF is a whole new program. Let's
on its own.
But the long and short advice is there is something called about egg quality. So egg quality is better in earlier years, age. Yeah? So people would need IVF, which is called in vitro fertilization, whereby we have a lot of those in Nairobi now. It's a growing field. When they have blockages, for instance, of, fallopian, you can't get pregnant naturally, but your eggs are there. You get what I mean? So they would need to harvest the eggs, and therefore you can see if we are going towards menopause where the eggs are not there or getting finished, then you need either to hurry or get them earlier. So this is an education program that is required for the importance of knowing the eggs early. And this is especially useful for the so-called modern ladies, where the pregnancies are coming later and later in life, you see. The decline in number of eggs starts being more from 35 years onwards, you see.
So with the hormonal imbalance, as she alluded to, that comes with the IVF, is this recommended for menopausal women?
So hormonal imbalance is a layman's terms. You need to be very specific on what this hormonal imbalance is. Let me give you an example. For someone who is not ovulating, they may get their periods after 60 days, you see. That would be considered hormonal imbalance in layman's terms. You get what I mean? But maybe they have a condition, polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you are not ovulating and your ovaries are looking like the ovary. You get. So any condition is related to IVF would need to be managed before IVF.
Okay.
But IVF is
it's a whole conversation on
a whole
its
program.
And we'll get to it. But hey, I thank you all for being part of this very informative conversation about embracing menopause. Dr. Simon Kigondo, obstetrician gynecologist, Anne Omamo, who is a lecturer, School of Business at JKUAT, and we are also joined by Doris Murimi, founder and CEO, Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation, and Dr. Tabitha Ndongo, who is an assistant professor of psychology at the USIU. I have walked out of this with a lot of information, and I'm sure a lot of the younger ladies are happy that finally somebody talked about this, and let's keep talking about this because it helps those that have not gotten there yet to be well prepared. Well, tomorrow we shall be focusing on something that is relevant to our day-to-day, especially when it comes to your careers. Of course, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and inevitably companies are still restructuring, and at times that might mean that there might be more job losses at the end of the year. So even as this mid-year review appraisals are being done, what is it that you can do to ensure that you stand out and also stand out from the crowd and grow in your career? We'll talk to a career coach tomorrow from 7 a.m. See you then.